The Lakers survive the Heat in overtime. Knicks come back in the Garden, but it wasn't quite enough to get the job done. Number 1 pick Cade Cunningham versus number 2 overall pick Jalen Green. You got Kelly Oubre, Frank Kaminsky, and Anthony Edwards with some absurd performances and more coming up right here at Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome to another Thursday edition of Locked On NBA. I am Jackson Gatlin, host of Locked On Rockets. You can follow me on Twitter at JT Gatlin. He is Matt Moore, senior NBA writer at the Action Network and co-host of Locked On Nuggets. And you can follow him on Twitter at HP Basketball. And we are here to break down all of last night's action. We thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen of the day. Matt, we have so much to get to, so many games.
13 friggin' games tonight. It was an absolutely terrific night of basketball. A lot of compelling storylines, a lot of compelling moments, a lot of compelling performances. Also, the Pelicans and Thunder played.
We're going to get to all of that for you guys right now. But first, this episode of Locked on NBA is brought to you by McDonald's, proudly serving communities since 1965. McDonald's has always been more than just a place to get tasty, affordable food. It's an unofficial community center. A big thank you to our friends at McDonald's for always being there. Matt, say the line.
I'm loving it.
All right. So I think... where are we stopping first on this trek, this voyage across 13 games, a 13-game slate, Matt? Where do you want to go first?
Well, let's start where the sun went down. Okay, let's go out to the West Coast, to the balmy beaches in somewhere out in LA. I don't really know where they are. I don't ever get to see them. Anyway, Lakers Heat was one of those delightful, completely drunk games. Just
so
a
good.
Sloppy mess that was hilarious, that went to overtime because of ineptitude. To set it up, no LeBron, right? Still out. Jimmy Butler suffers an ankle sprain early on. He's out. No Jimmy Butler for the Heat. And so you have the leftover Heat without Markieff Morris following the assassination by Nikola Jokic going up against the Lakers without LeBron. And it just, the Lakers trailed this entire game, Jackson. And then the Heat, all the Heat had to do is keep their composure. And I have a super burning hot take for you. Are you ready for this? Are you ready? Before we get to the box score?
I'm so not ready for it.
I was at the game Monday where Nikola Jokic hit somebody from behind and somehow earned a lot of players' respect. I'm very confused, but it's true. Stood up for himself, yada, yada, yada. They talked about that last night or on Tuesday's show. The Heat, this was my big thing from that game, is I was really surprised. Spo put his starters back in. Jimmy Butler broke rotation. Butler usually doesn't start the fourth. He started that game. They put the pedal down to try and mount a comeback versus a pretty physical Denver Nuggets team. That sounds crazy, but it's true this year. They're very physical. And they were pretty tired and frustrated by the end of the game, which is why I wasn't surprised when tensions boiled over. Tonight, no Butler. That team was dragging in the fourth quarter. Like, the ramifications of Monday's brouhaha directly carried over into tonight's just drunken slot fest in the fourth quarter, which led to the Lakers mounting an incredible comeback. Russell Westbrook hits two great mid-range shots, including a Dirk one-legged step-back fadeaway.
Are they great shots, though, is the problem? Because, that's where I come away thinking is okay, yeah, he hit the shots, but do you just you just live with those shots from Russ? Because then he comes down, at the end of regulation.
Right. The pull-up three that he missed at the end of regulation, that's the bad Russ. That's the price you pay for the good that you get with him now. Limited.
Is there a more polarizing force than Russell Westbrook in the NBA? I'm just going to put it out there.
There's not.
The good is so good with Russ, and then the bad is just so bad from somebody who's covered him for an entire season. It's so rough.
And he's been like this for a year. It's always these guys that are super aggressive, high profile, low efficiency. Like those guys are just always intensely intense.
In all of this, I mean, in all the antics leading down the line, right? You had the PJ Tucker putback slam where he actually got off the ground.
I mean, jump slot for the year. Yep, there's one jump that he got. He won't be able to jump until 2022.
You had the back-to-back offensive fouls late on Bam Adebayo, who struggled with foul trouble in the first half, finally actually gets to play in this game in the third quarter, starts lighting up the Lakers in the third quarter, picks up his fourth and fifth fouls, with under 2 minutes remaining in regulation. And I think above all else, of all the drunkenness in this game, Tyler Herro had a shoe problem. Like what happened where he goes, he checks out and they're like, wait, where's Tyler Herro? He's not in the game. And suddenly they're like, he's over on the sideline and he's like fixing his shoe. Jimmy Butler's offering him his shoe. What's happening? And I'm just like, what is happening in this game? It was absurd. And then to cap it all off, the Lakers actually blew their defensive assignment on the final possession of the game, right? Tyler Herro had a wide open look.
Wide open.
And he bobbled the pass. I think he was so shocked he was that wide open, he bobbled the pass and then missed the shot, and that was all she wrote. But man, this was just a ridiculous game. And the problem was, it was also like, for the earlier stage of this game, it was kind of one of those like grinded out, like it almost felt like a playoff game sort of, because it was just like really just intense, physical, like I don't know. And it had no like flow to it. And then the fourth quarter rolls along and it's like, okay, like everybody's starting to hit shots now. It's picking up, and it was a fun game. I enjoyed this game thoroughly.
So, I mean, this is like an incredible Russ line. Okay, so he goes 5 of 10 in the fourth quarter. For the game, he has 25 points on 22 shots with 12 rebounds, 14 assists, and 8 turnovers. But he winds up at plus 10. Anthony Davis had 24 points, but was 10 of 23. And honestly, I thought he played really badly. Like, I did not think Anthony Davis played well in this game. There were possessions late in the game in regulation and overtime that they switched, and he had Kyle Lowry on him, and Lowry just like ate his lunch. Like, there was just nothing to be done. Like, this is a problem. Like, we got to stop calling Anthony Davis the best big man in basketball, folks. We got to stop this. We got to.
On the Heat side of things, I don't know how many it was in a row, but Kyle Lowry missed so many threes. 2 of 10 shooting from behind the arc. And it just kept going. And it's just at one point, it was either near the end of regulation or maybe it was an overtime attempt where I was just like, okay, he's got to hit this one. Like, I was thinking to myself, like, he's missed so many, like he's just due for one. Like, at that point, I was just like, come on, Kyle, you can do it. I believe in you. And just brick after brick after brick. And even though he was doing an excellent job, like feeding others, setting up others, he was feeding Bam just completely, especially during that stint in the third quarter where Bam was just feasting, getting to the free throw line a lot. That was great. But the outside shooting, the fact that he couldn't convert at all, definitely killed them.
So this is really interesting, right? Because the Lakers' entire problem has been they couldn't compete with 3-point shooting in previous seasons. Tonight, they took more 3-pointers and they made 8 more. Like, the Lakers in part hung in this game because they had such a huge edge from 3-point range. Malik Monk goes 4 of 7 from 3-point range. Avery Bradley 5 of 8. And like, that's your ball game. Like, that's really the differential. This is also, I'll say this. Look, the Heat lost, their second road game. They lost by 3 on the road in overtime. So it's hard to say that's a bad loss. It's just when you come in to this road trip and it's like, all right, you lost to the Celtics, but you're the best team in the East. You have run over the Nets. You ran over the Bucks, kind of. They were missing everybody, but sure. You look like this super dominant team. You beat the Jazz. Then you come in and there's the whole debacle on Monday, and you follow it by losing to a LeBron-less Lakers team. That's not a great look. Their half-court offense is a problem. Like, Miami has a problem in half-court. They are relying on transition defense. I'll say this. If Jimmy Butler doesn't get hurt, they close this game. Like, both sides can definitely throw out their guy and be like, look, if we had Jimmy Butler, we're closing that game out. Probably. But if the Lakers have LeBron James, we don't know how that goes either. So it cancels out to a degree. will just say that at some level, your offense, even without Jimmy Butler, needs to be able to function and look like it knows what it's doing. The Heat half-court offense is seriously just a lot of like, Jimmy and or Tyler Hero, please do something. Please, will you just please do anything for us?
I can't wait for somebody to misaggregate you and say that you said that Jimmy Butler cancels out LeBron James. Looking forward to that. That's going to be all kinds of fun.
That'll be good.
With that, let's take a wonderful jaunt around the rest of the league. Get to some of these other games on the docket. We have the Brooklyn Nets just absolutely blowing out the Orlando Magic, 123-90. The Nets now 8-4 on the season. Kevin Durant, 30 points, leading the way in this one. An absolute blowout. Not much to really look at there between those two teams. What else we got next, Matt?
How about the Boston Celtics handling Toronto? They win 104-88 and basically never trailed in this game. No Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum goes 8 of 24. Tatum had 22 points on 24 shots, and the Celtics rolled them. Robert Williams was terrific in this game. 8 of 11, 16 points, 13 boards. Williams was absolutely everywhere. The Celtics did get 15 off the bench from Josh Richardson. Oh my gosh, Josh Richardson had a good offensive game. Like, what a crazy night in the association. Dennis Schroeder starting, 20 points, 8 of 15, 4 assists, 2 of 3 from three-point range. The Celtics just absolutely had all the answers. The Raptors have now lost 3 after winning 5 straight. I do not know who this team is. I have no idea. Scotty Barnes had 21 points on 7 of 11 shooting and is probably inching his way towards Rookie of the Year, leading that pack as we approach the first quarter mark of the season. Fred VanVleet had a miserable night. Fred VanVleet had a miserable night, and Anunoby had 14 points on 14 shots. I don't know who this Raptors team is. I'm going to be very real with you, Jackson. Every time I think that I'm like, okay, I guess the Raptors are a good team. It turns around. I'm like, I guess the Raptors are kind of a bad team. And now, I mean, they're 500. Maybe that's who they are. I have no idea what to expect game to game from Toronto. But Boston, all of a sudden, after looking miserable and that huge collapse versus Chicago, they've started to get it back together.
Coming up, we are going to dive into more games from this slate. We got to talk about the number 1 and number 2 overall picks going at each other, as well as what took place in the Garden between the Bucks and Knicks, and so many more other games. We're going to get there after a quick message from our friends over at betonline.ag, because look, BetOnline is back and better than ever. A new web interface for the start of basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number 1 spot for all of your basketball and football action this season. Head to their new updated website, sign up today, and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your very first deposit. Just use promo code LOCKEDON to receive your 50% welcome bonus. Again, they've got you from basketball, football, they've got you NHL, boxing, UFC, even your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. And continuing on here at Locked On NBA Thursday, he is Matt Moore. I am Jackson Gatlin. We thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen of the day. Going to knock out a couple more of these games here. We'll just knock out one more here that was just another absolute blowout. San Antonio Spurs 136 over the Sacramento Kings 117. DeJounte Murray leading the way for the Spurs with 26 points, as well as 6 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, 11 of 21 shooting for DeJounte Murray. The Spurs had a lot of bench contributions off the bench. Bryn Forbes with 15. Lonnie Walker, 3 guys all with 15 points off the bench. Another 17 off the bench for Thaddeus Young as well. So a lot of bench production for the Spurs in this absolute rout of the Sacramento Kings. Matt, we've got another one floating around over here too. What do you got for me?
The Thunder beat the Pelicans. Let's move on. No, okay. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander goes for 24 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Lou Dort. How about Lou Dort with 27 on 8 of 13? Attacked all night. Look, this Pelicans team without Zion and Ingram is just helpless. Like, they are helpless. Their veteran talent was designed to be built around those two. They're not there, so it looks terrible. I will say Nickeil Alexander-Walker, NAW with 33 points and 10 rebounds on 10 of 22 shooting, hit 4 threes. That's not bad. Devontae Graham had 18 on 18 shots, if that's your kind of thing. The Thunder defense, I'll say this. OKC's got a little bit more under the hood defensively than I think people realize, and it's going to keep them in games until Sam Presti starts inventing things for them to be wrong with players so that they can tank. They're winning too many games so far. This has got to be alarming for Sam Presti. So anyway,
there's only 2 teams left with only 1 win.
The Pelicans season is over, and that's wild for us to say that already, but I'm ready to call it. It's done.
Yeah, 1-11 starts a little hard to overcome. And again, there's only 2 teams left now with 1 win apiece, which might be a good spot to move us over into.
Who's the other one, Jackson?
Houston Rockets falling to the Detroit Pistons in the battle of. I can't call it the Rookie of the Year battle yet because neither Cade nor Jalen are at the front of the Rookie of the Year race right now. Frankly, being completely honest, but those are the 2 names that everybody thinks are going to be there at the tail end of the season.
You were at this game. Was the building electric?
The building was electric, and then it was suddenly not electric as the Pistons went on their little run at the tail end of the game to kind of seal things. The Rockets getting within a bucket, 103-100 down late stretch of the game, and then the Pistons just made the right plays at the tail end. But the main draw of this game was Cade Cunningham versus Jalen Green, and those 2 guys delivered. They absolutely did. Jalen Green finishing his night, 23 points on 8 of 20 shooting, 3 of 11 from behind the arc, had 5 boards, 2 assists. And then on the other side of the aisle, Cade Cunningham with 20 points on 8 of 18 shooting, had 4 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, and a block. And when I tell you that there was a little bit of chippiness between Jalen Green and Cade Cunningham, first off, might be a little bit one-sided because based on some comments from Cade post-game that we'll get to in a second.
I got it. I'm so excited for this quote.
Okay.
It's so good.
Oh, man. All right. Well, Jalen Green had himself a dunk where he, exploded, got past Cade, dunked, emphatically, and then had some words for Cade Cunningham after said dunk. And then post-game, Cade delivered this quote that I will let you deliver unto us now.
Nothing I heard tonight held any real weight. It was all for the cameras, I thought. Just savage. This is... Oh, I cannot wait to talk. I have a piece on this for you in Stockwatch. I'm so excited for it. It's so great. This Pistons team is so bad, and yet the Rockets somehow lost to them, which good for their tanking effort. I will ask you this, though. Wasn't the real difference tonight that Alperen Sengun wasn't that the difference tonight?
Hey, man, you know what? The Rockets offense looked abysmal, and that's all I'm going to say about that. If you want to hear me rant and complain about the Rockets offense, go check out Locked on Rockets. But we're going to revisit the Cade versus Jalen debate in Stockwatch, so stay tuned for that in our 3rd segment. But that's enough on Rockets Pistons. We don't need to talk about 2 bottom feeder teams, trading blows with each other at 6 p.m. on a weeknight. So anyways, Matt, where are we going next? Where do you, which next game are we tackling?
Let's go to the Battle of the East Titans. Wizards Cavs. Huge game. Absolutely. And actually huge, legitimately a huge game.
You're saying it so with such a sarcastic tone, but for
true.
Real, Wizards
It's
Cavs.
True.
Is it 2010 again? What's happening?
It's crazy. So the Wizards got off to a really great start. They were stifling everything that the Cavs do off ball. I did a big piece on them for Action Network, the Cavaliers, and I talked about the Wizards as well. And my conclusion was actually, I believe that eventually the Wizards or the Cavs, I think, have a little bit more sustainability for what they're doing right than the Wizards do. There's some defensive stuff with the Wizards I think that's a little concerning in terms of their profile, but they did a really good job tonight. The Wizards are just a veteran capable team. Kyle Kuzma, who I was not big on in his LA days, I thought he was he suffered from that whole Lakers effect where it's everyone wants to put the cart before the horse. I thought last year he was really good. I was surprised when he got removed from the rotation. He was excellent in this game. Just did a lot of little things on the defensive end for the Wizards, but the Wizards still ran out. The Cavs had this game and was in control and had a chance to get this thing done, had the lead going into the final minute. And then Kuzma hits a 3 to make
Kuzma.
Kuzma hits 2 3-pointers to go from down 89-93 to up 95-94. Garland misses a three-pointer at the end. Kispert gets a layup at the end to salt it, and that's your ball game. And it was a really good game between two really good defenses, two teams that look. They're still being led by defense right now. Like that's where both of these teams are kind of are still making hay. The Cavs, I think, ran into a bad matchup here. In general, they'll be okay. Bradley Beal, 13 points on 4 of 19 shooting. Still and like he was hitting the backboard, Jackson. Like he was bouncing shots off of the backboard, no rim. It was
a rough 4 of 19, and I think that's kind of the testament to this Wizards team, right? Through so much of this early season, they've been able to stack up wins despite some really, like, frankly, atrocious performances from Bradley Beal, which has not historically been the case for this Wizards team.
Montrezl Harrell, who again, like was such a liability for the Clippers in their playoff runs, he's been so good on both ends of the floor this year. Like 8 of 12 tonight, 24 points, 11 boards, a +5. They won the minutes with him. Like this came down to the Cavs bench was actually pretty good in this game, but the starters had a lot of trouble. Evan Mobley was a -11. Like he had 19 on 7 of 15 points because he's really good and also in that rookie of the year conversation. Jared Allen did the thing, but they just couldn't generate enough offense to be able to compensate. And the Wizards defense again was really good. The Wizards shot 41.7% in this game, but they got to the line for 17 times. The Wizards got to the line 21 times. A lot of free throws in this one, actually. And in the end, they hit like one more three. This was a really competitive game that was a lot of fun to watch. If you get a chance, go back and watch Wizards Cavs. It's genuinely a really good watch between two really good teams.
Let's go all the way up north. Let's go Bucks Knicks next, because this was a game where the Knicks looked like they were about to be out of it, right? Bucks go up by 24, I think was their biggest lead. And they look like they're firmly in control of this game. You know, they were kind of trading blows for a little while, and then they build up this massive lead, and you just kind of look away and you're like, okay, yeah, like the Bucks have this, right? Right. And then suddenly, tail into the third quarter, Knicks get a little bit of momentum, couple buckets quickly, Rose, turnover by the Bucks. And then that fourth quarter, you just snowball. And suddenly the Knicks find themselves, they go on this massive run. They're back in this game. They cap it all off. They tie things up at 89 after being down by as many as 24 off of Emmanuel Quickly three-pointer. And then they're, again, just right back in this game, trading blows with the Bucks, back and forth. And it looks like the Knicks have a legit chance to win this game. And then Pat Connaughton just drills, I think it was three triples in a row, like not in a row, but within the final like 2.5 minutes of this game, 3 minutes, like all in very rapid fire, quick succession. So when you look at the final box score of 112-100 for the Bucks Knicks, it doesn't tell the story of the game at all, because it was a close game. Then the Bucks blew it wide open. Then the Knicks fought all the way back, and then the Bucks managed to blow it wide open again in the final like 2.5 minutes of the game.
I disagree with you on this. I get it. They tied it. They could have won. I get it. Tibbs fell for the trap, man. You can't I'm surprised that as many games as he's coached, he tried this. You cannot leave the bench in for that long.
That was going to be okay. I had that note written down too, because I am on a catch-22 on this. I love the concept and the take and the idea of leaving in the unit that got you back in the game and or won you the game. No, we can disagree about this all day. I love that idea, but there's a threshold on it, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you can't run them that much extended burn, right? Because they're gonna gas out. So that's the trade-off. I'm a big proponent of if a bench player has you in the game, ride the hot hand, right? He should be in your closing lineup, not your de facto starting five. But in this case, Tibbs was no, I'm keeping the whole bench unit in.
See, the problem is once you go to this, you can't walk it back. The only way this works is if you take a 2-minute stretch and you invert it, right? You invert it with starters and bench where, all right, so he subs in most of the bench at the 6:50 mark of third quarter. You cannot play NBA players, especially veterans like Derrick Rose, Taj Gibson, 18 straight minutes. You can't. You're not they're gonna run out. Like, you are not going to win the game doing that. And I get that people are going to be like, they only lost because of the Connaughton barrage. I get it. You're not going to have enough to get the stops that you need. They are going to burn out. And that never works. Like, I've seen so many coaches make that mistake through the years. Like, they the bench gets them back into it, and they're so disgusted with the starters, and they want to like teach them a lesson. If you're going to do that, you literally have to, and like, you have to be like, hey, starters, you're going back in for like 2 minutes, but the starter's going to be pissed then because the starter's like, you bench me. I'm not going in for like a 2-minute stint. Like, that's where it all gets jacked up. Like, it's at that point, it's already messed up. If they pull it off, okay. It's very rare that they do. They didn't tonight. Great effort, but this is part of it. You burn all your energy making the comeback, and then it's a fake comeback. You burn all the energy getting back into the game, but then you don't have anything left to close it.
Yeah. Tough loss for the Knicks after fighting really hard to try and get back into it. Coming up, we're going to get through the rest of our games on our slate that we've got in front of us, the massive 13-game slate. But first, a quick message from our friends over at McDonald's, because this episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by McDonald's, proudly serving communities since 1965. McDonald's has always been more than just a place to get tasty, affordable food. It's a place where friends and family can come to reconnect. Look, Matt, when I think about McDonald's, I immediately go back to middle school. My dad's picking me up from basketball games, and we're hitting the McDonald's right down the street from my house. I would only eat chicken nuggets growing up because I was a super picky eater growing up. Now, I can't go past McDonald's without immediately craving like a spicy chicken sandwich, or like my personal go-to if I'm going to have like a meal from McDonald's is like the Texas homestyle burger, extra mustard, extra onions, extra pickles, large fry, Dr. Pepper to wash it all down with. What's your go-to meal from McDonald's?
I like myself a good double quarter pounder with cheese, no onions. That's the way I rock it.
Any of those options, right? They're great. Head to your local McDonald's to refuel and reconnect. A big thank you to our friends at McDonald's for always being there. I'm loving it.
Welcome back to Locked On NBA. Jackson Gatlin, Matt Moore, taking this home off a 13-game slate. We do the real work here, Jackson. None of these. Adam, and who's Friday's Adam and Nick, right?
Nick, yeah. Your
they
co-host. Give him hell for
this. They get the easy slate of the Thursday. You and I, we do the real work of the NBA. The Wednesday 13 games. So that's right. Flex on him, Jackson. All right. Let's burn through the rest of these games. Dallas, Chicago. Chicago wins 117-107. Mavs were looking in the first quarter and then completely fell apart. This Mavericks offense is broken and sad. Nikola Vucevic, Kristaps Porzingis' numbers look good. I'm telling you that Nikola Vucevic, who only had 18 points on 8 of 14 shooting, kind of finally broke free and hit some bunnies. He beasted on Kristaps. DeRozan went right through him several times. Luka Doncic, 6 of 18 for 20 points in this game. The Mavericks were outscored by 20 points with Luka Doncic on the floor, Jackson. That's not a recipe for success.
Not in the slightest at all. Okay. We've got, where are we going next? We got Golden State Warriors and Minnesota Timberwolves. Final score 123-110. Ant went absolutely bonkers in this one. 48 points, 16 of 27 shooting. And I continue to be so impressed with the strides that he's taken as just a second-year player. Like, he really is, like, he lets the game come to him. He makes the right reads, and his defense has been like the biggest. Like, I mean, he was vocal about it earlier this season about needing to be more vocal defensively, kind of almost like keeping Cat and D'Lo in check defensively, right? Which is like, they're like the guys with more NBA experience, so that should kind of be their thing, not him as a second-year player. But okay, go off, Ant, and he did in this game. And then, the Warriors were doing Warriors-esque things. They're 10-1. They're dominant on both sides of the basketball this season, but D'Lo started to torch in the third quarter, hit 4 triples. And it looked like the T-Wolves, like, they kept clawing, and it looked like they were going to try and get back in this game. They broke the lead down to like 7 and then 8 and then I think 6 at one. Like, they were just didn't have enough to get over the hump in this game. Draymond Green did leave this game. That absolutely changed the complexion of this one. Draymond went out about halfway through the third quarter, and that's about when the D'Lo spark started to happen. So if Draymond doesn't go down, maybe the Timberwolves comeback doesn't actually start happening, the fake comeback, because they did wind up losing.
Andrew Wiggins dunked on Cat twice. 14 of 19 from the field for 35 points for Andrew Wiggins, including, I think he shot 9 of 9 to start the game. So yeah, this is again, the Wolves burn all their energy trying to get the comeback, and then they didn't have anything left over. Like that's just where it comes in. It's like they burned everything trying to get back into the game. I will say Karl-Anthony Towns, 17 points at 6-19 shooting. Draymond did a great job defensively on him. The Warriors are just a machine. I still maintain the Wolves are not bad. They just need to they're going to self-destruct because you can tell the pressure's too much. They need to stay patient. There's good things here. You just got to stay patient. If they tweak things just a little bit, they're going to find it. They're really close. They just got to hang with it. But I feel like they're going to self-destruct. Let's go to Memphis, where Memphis is falling back to earth rapidly because their defense absolutely sucks. How about Kelly Oubre? Okay, Kelly Oubre, who is like good in Phoenix.
It's Kelly Oubre with like a million question marks. Like that's
like it's like question mark, exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation mark ad nauseum.
Yeah.
So like Oubre was good in Phoenix, and then gets traded, and then winds up in Golden State and is a disaster, and is like the guy they removed from the rotation along with Wiseman that made them go on the run, and was like out. Like everyone's like he's untouchable. Starts the season, he's horrible. 37 points in 30 minutes of play, about 31 minutes, 37 points in 31 minutes, 13 of 17 shooting, 7 of 9 from 3. The starters. Yeah. Look at this. The starters for Memphis, they won their, like Ja had 32 and was a +6. DeAnthony Melton was a +10. Jaren Jackson was a +10, but the bench got nuked by Kelly Oubre Jr. Brandon Clark played 12 minutes and was a -19 because Kelly Oubre absolutely went thermonuclear. The Memphis defense is a tire fire, and until they get that fixed, they're not going to be a serious threat in the Western Conference.
Oh man. Let's go Portland and Phoenix. So Phoenix Suns, Portland Trailblazers, 119-109. The Suns taking the win in this one. I continue to be impressed by one. I'm gonna give a little bit of a shout out to JaVale McGee because I do like that pickup for the Suns, and he's filling in nicely in the absence of DeAndre Ayton. But another guy who's filling in quite nicely in the absence of DeAndre Ayton, Frank Kaminsky. Have yourself a night. 31 points, a career high for Frank the Tank Kaminsky. 7 rebounds, 3 assists on 12 of 18 shooting for him in this one. Devin Booker, a really quiet 12 points, 5 of 15 shooting performance. Suns get the win in despite those lackluster numbers out of Devin Booker. On the other side of the aisle, Damian Lillard, 12 of 23 shooting, 28 points. Norm Powell with 23. Say that again?
He broke loose. Like, the story of this game is that Damian Lillard finally had a good game. He finally had a good game, and they got outscored by 13. Yikes.
He was more quiet from the 3-point line than you would expect, though, in the game, in a break loose game is the problem. Like 1 of 4 shooting from behind the arc for Dame. Sure. Like those aren't Dame-esque numbers, right?
I'm saying
at least he had it going inside the arc.
It's better than what he's been at. Like that's one of the problems.
Okay, that's fair.
Portland's defense is trash. Frank Kaminsky torched use of Nurkic. This is a problem. Like Portland's in trouble. Portland's in real trouble on multiple fronts. I would move Portland to DEFCON 2 at this point.
They've yet to win a single game on the road this season. Now 0-6 on the road. Is it at least a good thing that they're winning at home? Like, can you at least salvage a little any positivity from that, or not at all?
I mean, I think a little bit. I don't know where this team's going to get better without roster changes, and it's just apparent. There's the stuff going on with O'Shea. I just feel like this is a ticking situation. The clock's ticking in Portland. Last game, the Denver Nuggets were without Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., and MVP All-NBA First Team Center Nikola Jokic, and they won. They beat the Indiana Pacers behind 30 points from Will the Thrill Barton. 11 of 19 shooting, 6 of 9 from 3. Barton got in the whole damn bag tonight. He was absolutely phenomenal. He has been the heart and soul of that team for a long time, and he is stuck with the franchise. Barton was a guy that, when the things were really bad there, was I want to be here for when this gets good because we're going to be good. And he is stuck with it. He re-signed within the summer on what I thought he got less than what he probably should have. Monster game from Will Barton. Bones Highland, the numbers don't look good. 3 of 8 from the field, 12 points. at -2. I'm telling you, Bones Highland was part of why they won this game. 4 assists, including some really nice dishes to Zeke Naji, who steps in, goes 7 of 10 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3-point range with 19 points to help make sure that the bench wasn't a total disaster. Indiana needs to be just flat out embarrassed by this. Like, I was worried about this game for Indiana because it's the worst motivational spot possible. You're just looking at that roster and you're like, oh, we're going to win this game. You're in altitude, you're on the road. And it's like that spot is bad. And the Nuggets always seem to thrive in these adverse situations. You lost to the Nuggets without Jokic, Pacers. Get it together. You want to do stock watch?
Let's dive in. All right. We got?
Every week, I come up with 3 takes, and Jackson has to buy, sell, hold, or short. Okay. And then I'll give my take on it as well. The first take tonight, we will journey back to the great state of Texas. And I will go ahead and say that tonight was a microcosm of the Jalen versus Cade debate, where Jalen puts up all sorts of numbers. Cade has a quieter game. Jalen talks a lot and gets the highlight reel, and Cade walks out with the win. Buy, sell, hold, or short, Jackson?
I'm selling that take expeditiously because Cade Cunningham,
the host of Locked On Rockets, is selling this take.
Well, no, look. Well, I will admit, Cade Cunningham had some stellar play. The tone of this game changed when Cade checked back in, drilled a 3, and then on the opposite end drew an offensive foul. And you know, he turned the tide of this game when he checked back in late. Absolutely, and he was impactful in this game. Absolutely. But you can't point to Jalen Green's numbers and say that they weren't impactful. He hit timely shots. I will point to the fact that Jalen Green making extra plays to give the Rockets extra possessions. If they had won that game, Jalen Green had a play where Christian Wood missed everything on a 3-point attempt. Jalen Green soars out of bounds, saves the ball back in bounds to KPJ. KPJ gets fouled at the rim and scores 2 points at the free throw line off of that saved, just completely horrendous shot by Christian Wood from Jalen Green, right? Making those little plays, those hustle plays to try and win the game. He's not just out there shooting, 25 plus shots a night. When the game was kind of over, Jalen Green finished with probably about like 17 shot attempts. I think he forked up a couple more when the game was pretty much done for. Yeah, but it was about 17 when the game was like over. Anyways, I'm going to sell that take expeditiously because Jeremy Grant had 35 points in this game, had a ridiculous, 21 in the third quarter, I think it was. Like, he went on an absolute tear. Just because the Rockets can't defend worth a lick right now, and Jeremy Grant went off for 21 points in the third quarter, does not suddenly create a referendum on the debate between Jalen Green and Cade Cunningham. They both balled out. So
my favorite part of this is that Jalen finished with a plus-minus of 0, and Cade finished with a plus-minus of 1. It's just like, it's so perfect, Jackson. It's so perfect. All right, take number 2. I am buying that, by the way. Anthony Edwards is the best and most important player for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Ooh.
Yeah. Right?
Ooh, that's a good one. I want to sell it. No, I want to sell it.
Okay. Still Cat?
I want to sell it. Yeah, I think it's Cat because I think too much hinges on Cat, right? Like, Ant is crucial, yes, but I can't buy myself into thinking that, like, if Ant's the best player on that team, they're suddenly going to go places. Like, Cat has to be the best player, and then Ant can be like an ancillary piece to Cat, if that makes sense, right? Like, Ant as an ancillary piece to a good Karl Anthony Towns. So I'm going to sell that because I still think it's Cat is the most important guy.
I'll say this, getting the sense from some Minnesota fans that the patience is running short with Cat off of after the tweet situation and his level of constantly being.
He was hacked, Matt. How dare you?
He's the other thing I will say is, like, he seems just like over it. He seems to have kind of like been like, nothing's gonna change. This franchise is too messed up, and it's like again, I'll just say, like, they're going to get there. If he'll just stay a little patient, I really think they're going to get there. I will sell that for right now too, just because Cat is still an all-world talent. He's going to be incredible in his career. And my final one, Miami was a little out over its skis to start this season with its hot start when they were the best team in the East just a few days ago. Now losers of 3 of 4. The Heat were a little bit outperforming who they really are to start the season.
I want to short this one.
Ooh. Going all the way with it. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, I was not high. Like, I was not incredibly high on the Heat, like, coming into the season. I don't think either of us were. I think we had some very valid concerns about this team. And I think tonight was it kind of showed us that, right? Suddenly Jimmy Butler is MIA and there are questions about this team's ability to close out the Lakers minus LeBron and Russ missing ill-advised 3-point shot attempts late in game situations. I don't know. I really like them when they're like at their peak and like healthy, but like one piece goes awry from this team. And that could be injuries. It could be foul trouble on any given night in a game, like things like that. And they're just so top heavy that then when they have to like dip into their bench, I just don't know if they have enough. So that's where I'm at right now.
Kyle Lowry is averaging 11 points and 8 assists on 38% shooting from the field and 32% shooting from 3-point range. And everyone is, and I'll say this, like, I thought he's looked good in terms of like the pace that he's kept in the tempo, but like
eye test, he's looked good.
But like they need more production. You did not get Kyle Lowry for your half court offense to look this bad. So, keep an eye on the Heat. There's a lot of ways the season could go, and this road trip is going to be really interesting. They have a great bounce back spot though versus the Clippers. I'm kind of expecting them to bounce back versus them during their stay as they enjoy the sights and sounds where we began the episode in Los Angeles.
Oh, so now you remember
Jackson.
where the Lakers play.
Exactly.
All right. With that, that's going to do it for another episode of Locked On NBA. As always, we appreciate you checking out the show. If you haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing wherever you subscribe, free and available on all platforms. Make it your first listen of the day. For your second listen, go check out Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Josh Lloyd is an amazing host. If you care about fantasy basketball, you've got to go check out his show. He does an amazing job over there. Go give it a listen. Free and available on all platforms. Same as this one, Apple, Spotify, Google, the brand new Odyssey app, all those different locations. Also now on YouTube. Go subscribe to the Locked On NBA YouTube channel. But for today's show, that's going to do it. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And we look forward to having you back right here at Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.